Good afternoon and welcome once again to the Polity, reaching you live from Abuja. I am Amadin Uberi. Now, as usual, we'll delve into the intersection of politics, governance, and the state of the nation. Today, particularly, we'll be taking a look at the issue of party internal affairs, particularly with the NNPP. They are the ones who are currently in charge of Kano State. They have a number of House of Rep members, a number of senators, I believe. And we'll be taking a look at what is going on within the party. Recall that the NNPP came fourth in the presidential election on May 29th, with the presidential candidate, Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, taking those votes. The NNPP also, at the time, won the Kano State election. We're taking a look now at some matters within the party. We have apparently two factions within the party, with one faction suspending the national leader, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, and the other faction suspending the founding member of the party and also some others. We'll take a look at what's really going on with the NNPP today. I've been joined now in the studio by the acting chairman of one of those factions, Dr. Agbo Major. He joins me now to really break down what is going on within the party and what is the way forward for the NNPP. Good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Amadin. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have
Good afternoon, Nigerians.
Welcome. All right, I'd really like us to break it down to as simple as possible. So let's start from the genesis. What led to what we're seeing? I believe what really drew people's attention first was when the news broke that the national leader has been suspended, and then people started to wonder what's going on. And upon investigation, it was said that it was the reverse, that you were the one suspended, you and the founding member of the party, and so on and so forth, that you had parallel Congress. So can you really tell us from the genesis what led to all of this? Because you've been here before. I mean, if I can take that interview as a stop-off point, when we last talked, it was that everything is fine, the national leader is with the party, there is no problem and no cause for alarm. What changed and when did it change?
Well, you know, Amadin, that's a very interesting poser coming from you. First, to put the record straight, the NNPP has no national leader in its constitution. That's number one. If you go through the constitution from the first page to the last page, you won't find anywhere there where anybody is expected to be referred to as national leader of the party. It was merely an internal thing. We just believed that as presidential candidate then, we needed to just accord him that respect, and we started referring to him as that, you know. And with the conduct of the election over, and the NNPP has no matter anywhere challenging the outcome of the presidential election, there is nothing like national leader in the constitution. That's number one. Number two, the person you are referring to apparently as a founding member, Dr. Boniface Okechukwu Anebnam, is not a founding member, but the sole founder of the party. Yeah. He has an organization referred to as the National Association of Government Approved Freight Forwarders. The acronym is NAGAF. That's an umbrella body for people in the logistics industry who handle cargo, you know, across the land, sea, and airports across the country. You know, its size runs into several millions, you know. So that was what transformed into the NNPP and then got it registered in 2001. So he's the sole founder of the party. There are no co-founders. That's number two. Then number three, as far as we are concerned in the party, there are no factions, you know. The leadership of the party is vested on me, the NWC. I lead the NWC as the national chairman, and that is as a result of the resolution of the Board of Trustees in its meeting held at the Rockview Hotel in Lagos on the 28th through 29th of August 2023. And it will interest you to know that the NNPP constitution in itself is such a unique one. You can't find it in any of the constitution of the remaining 18 registered political parties in this country. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because the powers, the inherent powers that are vested on the BOT of the NNPP is not found anywhere. Why am I saying this? There is a clause there that says that in the case of this level of instability like we saw in July and August, the BOT has the responsibility to take control and steer the affairs of the party by determining what happens next. And I can also tell you that as at when that decision was taken, it was as good as the party now having an NWC in place. Because the NWC that we betted in 2022 in our convention, which was held at Gwarimpa in March, precisely March 30th, 2022, a lot of people exited, you know, to go around for various political elective offices, you know, and they never returned. And so those positions,
NWC.
yeah,
the persons left the NWC.
Yes, and those positions,
they were still within the party.
those positions, yeah, they went to run as candidates for various elective positions, and those positions, as at today, in the face of the law, are deemed not to have been filled, even though they tried. Those who are enemies of the party tried to smuggle in names. One is from Benue, one Barrister Hon, who was brought in through the back door to replace Professor Angwe, who was the, you know, national legal advisor. There is one from Kaduna, who was brought in to replace Senator Hokuyi, who was the national organizing secretary, and so on and so forth. I can continue to mention.
Who's bringing them in? Who's bringing these people in?
Well, that is an internal thing. It's not everything we put in the open, but I can tell you that those decisions were majorly taken, you know, illegally in somebody's house in Metama. The only thing is that one day you just wake up and see, they will tell you that so-so person has come to replace so-so person. The following day they will tell you, so you begin to ask yourself, where are these decisions taken? When the Constitution clearly stipulates the procedure for replacements such as that. You know, so the NWC that was bettered in 2022 became largely very incompetent because a lot of them left to go around for offices. And then the last straw that broke the camel's back was when the national chairman who was elected during the convention, Professor Rufai Akali, unceremoniously left as a result of pressure from certain persons who just believe that they cannot allow democracy to prevail in the party. And it's strange to our party because 22 years of its existence, it has always been a party for everybody. People have had the opportunity to make inputs into decision-making processes until beginning from last year, when we admitted some pressure groups, the Kwankwaso group, the TNM, and NAGAF into it, things changed. And then certain people started arrogating to themselves the importance and powers that they do not have, and started taking decisions at the back. And that's exactly what injured the party that moved the BOT into invoking relevant sections of the Constitution, which gave birth to the NWC that I presently lead. So there are no factions in the party, I can tell you that resoundingly.
All right. When all of this happened, is it the issues you've listed already that led to the removal or suspension of
first, it's a whole lot of story that the 1 hour that we have here will not take. So I'll try to hit at the critical places that the public, who have been largely misled by jokers like Buba Galadima and the rest, would need to know. In February 2022, they came all the way, led by Buba Galadima, all the way to Umuawulu in Anambra State, in Oka, suburb of Oka, to meet with us at the founder's house. And in good faith, we received them and agreed that we could work together, you know. But there was a caveat. The caveat is that the two sides must have mutual respect for one another, you know. And that was promised, put on the table, and then an MOU was signed, you know, and the MOU was specifically for them to be able to find their way into the party for the purpose of the 2023 general election. The implication is that at the end of the election, the MOU would cease to exist. So we signed the MOU tentatively, and we now got into action. That was why the MOU basically was to create room for them to be able to come in, and that was done, you know, in Dr. Nebunam's typical style of being open and fair-minded in anything he's doing with people, and that trust, you know. But from the blast of the whistle, we started seeing deceits. We started seeing people doing things that had the capacity to injure the provisions of the MOU. I, as a critical person within the system, cried out several times, but nobody listened, you know. I cried to the man himself, Kwankwaso. I cried to the founder of the party who gave the party to them, who agreed to, you know, assent to the MOU for them to be able to come in. I cried severally to critical people who midwifed the MOU, the likes of Professor Bermangwe, a professor of law for that matter, the likes of Senator Hunkuyi, and I told them that what was happening was never in the interest of the MOU. It was not in the interest of the party, you know, and it continued like that until, but we were cautious not to throw the party into instability because we were preparing for election. That's why anytime you see me on air, I will come here and tell you there was peace, there was that. Of course, that's what is expected of me as the spokesman of the party then. And I tried to walk clearly in that direction to maintain the peace until after the election. And you know, normally after every election, every party sits down to take stock of what has happened, you know. And they said they had noticed some infractions in some states. And so they needed to probe and then to be able to deal with those infractions, which is normal in any political party as you begin to prepare to move into the next election. And they set up a committee. I was a member of the committee. And in our maiden meeting, we tried to come out with the mode of operation. How were we going to operate? And they came with a sinister arrangement that what they wanted was that the petitioners would come on days that are separate from the days that the petitioned would appear. And that sounded bizarre to me. And I said, no, if you have a complaint against me, what I expect you to do is to bring me and the person complaining against me together so that we can join issues. Say, no, they don't want fight. What is the fight? In politics, people always disagree. The beauty is that you disagree to agree. I didn't see any reason for any fight. I didn't see any reason for them to have gone under the excuse that there could be fight. And I insisted that we needed to be open by bringing all the parties together to join issues to enable us to take decisions from a vantage point of view. And you know, of course, as expected, the minority will always have their way, while the minority will always have its way, while the majority. So somehow they were able to have their way by continuing with that. We also agreed that after we have listened to the about 9 states that were shortlisted for that first phase of questioning, we would come back to the table to take each of the states individually, look at what has been gathered as evidence and submissions from them to enable us to take decisions. When that was done, Major Abu was also not informed. And so they came out with a report that had a blanket decision, an open decision to just suspend the leadership of those entire 8 states. First, they started with Ogun. From there, another 7 or 8 states now followed. And when the report, on the day that the report was to be considered, they brought a typed report. And I said, I'm not aware that this report has been completed. I didn't have access to this report. Every other member of the committee had signed. They now brought it to me during the NWC meeting, and I requested that I needed to read the report, you know, and it continued like that. But that same day, the report was adopted, and the next thing was, okay, the National Public Secretary should go on air to announce the dissolution of those states. And those states, the state chairmen that appeared on separate dates from those complaining against them, had insisted that they were not given opportunity to be heard fairly. And this is clearly an infringement on their rights based on the provisions of the party's constitution and then the grand norms of the country, which is the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended. They were already crying, but nobody bothered. The next thing we saw was that we were not only now going to dismiss the state chairman that at least had appeared, the entire structures, the local government chairman, the ward chairman were also going. These were people you didn't invite. Did you give any opportunity to the local government chairman to come and explain anything? Did you invite, or did you even receive any complaints against them? So why are you dismissing from the state to the ward? We knew it was going to create problem. And the next thing they did as law-abiding party men was to say, okay, if this is the situation and we will not be heard in Abuja, we will return to our father in Lagos, who is the founder of the party and who ran it for 20-something years with his resources, to at least complain and see if he would help us intervene. They went to Lagos. On their way to Lagos, the founder of the party now called me and said, you, Major, who is representing me at the NWC, you, Dikpo, who is the already sent away national secretary, who is also representing the NNPP there. The two of you and then the acting national chairman should come to Lagos to come and hear what my children are coming to tell me about what you've done in Abuja. It was the same national chairman, acting national chairman, who approved that I be paid 200,000 to go to Lagos. And I got on the plane and got to Lagos. It was when I got to Lagos, I discovered the acting national chairman was not there. The then national secretary, who is now gone from the party, was also not there. I became curious. I asked questions. I discovered that they said they were not coming because they had no reason to come and sit down with suspended chairmen. Is that party politics? It's not. These are people who are suspended. Even if you have suspended them from office, have you suspended their membership? As ordinary members, don't they deserve to be listened to? So we had that meeting. The meeting lasted throughout the weekend. And when we came back, the following Monday, they called an NWC meeting. And something told me that meeting was on my head. When we got to that NWC meeting, the first thing that was brought to the table was that they needed to review what happened in Lagos, why certain national officers went to Lagos to go and sit with suspended state chairmen. Dick now said he didn't go. They now said it was Major Abu that went. So they now asked me, why should you go there? I said, why will you ask me that kind of question? Somebody who founded a party that I ran under his instruction for 21 years, invited me to come and join him to listen to people who were complaining against injustice. You say, why did I go there? What kind of thing is that? And it resulted almost in hot exchange of words at the meeting. And the next thing was, okay, since it is like that, it is clear that you are not working with us, this and that, all sorts of things. And I kept quiet. I didn't say anything. Now, because of the opportunity created by the founder of the party for us to join him to listen to these boys, by the national chairman and then the then national secretary, nobody joined. So the man had no choice but to invoke relevant sections of the Constitution, Section 12 specifically, 1A, B, C, that confers on him, 1, life membership of the board, by virtue of his being the founder of the party, meaning that he can't lose his membership status for 1 minute. 2, that confers the responsibility of overseeing the activities of all members of the party, and if need be, calling them to order if they are involved in acts that are inimical to the provisions of the Constitution. Those relevant sections were invoked. The man now said, okay, since I invited you as the father of the party and you have refused to come, I will invoke these sections of the Constitution. On that note, he now asked the so-called suspended chairman to return to the offices until the party was ready to come to listen to him, who is the founder of the party and who is the custodian of everything about the party. And they refused to go. The people now returned to the office, and then he issued a letter asking them to go back to the offices. They now called another NWC meeting and said that all letters written by Dr. Boniface Okechukwu and Ebunam were engineered by me, and that they were going to move. The language was, we will move against the head. That is Boniface and Ebunam, the founder of the party, Dr. Boniface and Ebunam. They moved against him in my presence at the NWC meeting. I tried to put up some defense. I was overwhelmed, you know. And I said, okay, no problem, whatever you want to do. I remember 1 or 2 members of the NWC were clearly against it. They said, no, what you are about to do here is to throw this party into instability. Will we be able to withstand the fallout of this action that is about to be taken? They couldn't provide an answer. They had their minds made up because they had their meeting in somebody's house where people like Buba Galadima and the rest that do not have the interest of the party had told them what to go and do. Go and move against this man and let us see what he will do. And then motions were moved that a man that Constitution confers on life membership of the party, bizarre thing was done. They moved the motions and said they had suspended him from the party. At that point, one man who says he's the deputy national chairman, or rather he was the deputy national chairman, who also came in through the back door, Prince Moiseonu, also said if you cut off the head and you don't cut off the tail, you have not solved the problem. That the only person that supports the founder of the party in our midst here is Major Agbo, the National Public Secretary, who also went to attend the illegal meeting that was held in Lagos last week. And so we must move against him. They now started another process of so-called suspension that they said. When I saw that they had their minds made up on what they wanted to do, I took my file and walked out. And then I started my car, and before I got home, media people were calling me to say I had been suspended with the founder of the party. And when I called the founder to brief him, this is the situation. He said, come to Lagos. I went to Lagos. We brought together a consortium of lawyers, science for that matter. They digested the constitution of the party line by line and said, this is bizarre. This is not known to the constitution of this party. Their action, this is also not known even to the constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. They asked me if I was invited for any questioning. I said I was sitting down normally as an NWC member, as public secretary then, and I saw motions being moved to suspend me. Nobody gave me any chance to even explain anything. No disciplinary committee was set up to question me. Nothing. And I saw that that was clearly a premeditated arrangement, and I had to walk away. So the lawyers now said, okay, this is an action that cannot stand human rights infringement and all of that. And that is where we are today. Now, we now have to begin to let INEC know that the party is unstable and that the BOT was going to, invoke sections of the Constitution that confers on them the right to stabilize the party. We wrote through our lawyers to INEC. INEC took the letter, took in the letter and looked at it. And on the strength of that, we had our first meeting on the 28th of August at Rockview Hotel in Lagos, well attended by BOT members, led by the then BOT chairman and founder, who is now only founder because he resigned his position on the day of the meeting to pave way for fresh election to be conducted, which gave birth to the presently led BOT under Dr. T.K.O. Aluko from Ekiti State. We had the meeting, a very robust meeting, and the BOT invoked relevant sections of the Constitution and said, okay, at the interim, the NWC is deemed not to be standing for the obvious reasons that I have mentioned, being incomplete and then being illegal and so on and so forth, taking decisions that are not in the interest of so many things, unable to explain, to account for party funds, a lot of terrible things, which we are not even supposed to put in the open, because in every political fight, by the time you settle, you will discover that you've divulged so much, and people will be looking at you, at the party, as a party that is made up of people who simply, So the relevant sections were invoked, which gave birth to the NWC led by me, and that is where we are today. So that's the history of how we got to where we are.
All right. It's interesting, you're saying it's how it all played out. But one might wonder, the same meeting suspended Rabbi Musa Kwankwaso from the party because of the level of crisis that he was creating. And before we left that meeting that day, the next thing we saw was that they had also met in Abuja and said they had expelled me and the founder, who in the first place was not even supposed to be suspended, not to talk of being expelled, So we now said, okay, if that is the case, we cannot match illegality for illegality. What we will do is we will create room for Kwankwaso to come and explain himself before a committee. We'll set up a committee. We wrote to him and asked him to come and explain. He didn't come. We now met and also expelled him. So as I speak to you now, he's not a member of our party. And we are insisting that he cannot be a member of our party except something otherwise happens. That is the situation we're in now. All right, but one might wonder, this NWC that you say is incomplete or illegal, you were part of it and you did make decisions together, leading up to that day. One might wonder, why didn't you speak up earlier? Why didn't you move against what you consider to not be legal? Was
I supposed to come on air here with you, Ahmadin, to come and tell you the illegality that was taking place in my party?
But I
just told you that I complained to the appropriate quarters. The board of trustees of the party is the custodian of everything about the party. They are the conscience of the party. They are the ones that have the powers to call to order. And in fact, I raised several memos, and all of them are there before the BOT.
Right, when you say some sections of the Constitution were invoked, particularly the part where the founders seem to have, will I use the word ordered or directed the reinstatement of those suspended chairmen, doesn't it seem a bit dictatorial? Is that really part of the Constitution?
Yeah, it
does it have that power?
I say the Constitution says when the party is unstable, it becomes the responsibility of the BOT to stabilize the party. The implication of it, which is also there, is that the BOT has the power to call to order any officer of the party that is doing anything that is not in consonance with the provisions of the Constitution. So if decisions had been illegally taken, by the way, let me tell you, I just said it to you, and for the purpose of emphasis, I told you that so many of those decisions that were taken were not taken even at the so-called party secretariat. They were taken in somebody's house in Metama. The only thing is that his cronies will come to implement.
That was what I was about to head to. So all of these things you've described, someone could argue that, well, Senator Rabi Musa Kwankwaso has no hand in it. How were you able to trace this back to him, really? You know, I have records of meetings that were held in his house, and even the dates and decisions that emanated from there. And for every of these decisions that were brought to the NWC, there are records there that I also questioned them. That is why I became their enemy. I don't stay in a place where there is injustice. I don't stay in a place where we are supposed to be practicing democracy and we're not practicing democracy. Okay, let me ask you now, the MOU you spoke about that sort of married these groups, the Kwankwaso movement came into this party, which was already existing. You know, weirdly enough, a lot of people out there actually believe that it has always been his party, so to speak, one way or another. So what was entailed in that MOU? Where were the will I say, who didn't meet up to their end of the deal? Very good.
That's a very good question. But first, let me tell you, this conversation is becoming very, very interesting. You see, I am itched when I hear that Nigerians were forcefully made to believe that NNPP belongs to Kwankwaso. These are the same people, Buba Galadima and the rest, who have repeatedly come on air to thank when the marriage was smooth, shortly after it was consummated in February 2022. They shot themselves on the foot by coming on air across several TV stations to thank Dr. Boniface and Ebunam for being so magnanimous. At a point, some of them even said that they have not seen an Igbo man that is broad-minded like that. That they went all the way to his village and he gave them a party that he formed and nurtured for 21 years to come in and run for election. The other day I was on Arise TV from Lagos. Buba Galadima was from Abuja studios here. And he was telling people that he's a founding member of the party. And one of the anchormen asked him, sir, but you just said that you people went to Oka Umawulu to meet with the founder of the party just last year. Meaning that he joined the party last year. And it's on records that this party is about 21, 22 years old. The seat, that's their job. That day, I'm an Idoma person, I have serious respect for elderly people. That's the way I was brought up. My father was a missionary teacher. Those who wore short knicker and shoes with socks. So he taught me what it takes to respect people. But that day, I went out of my way to dismiss him and to refer to him as somebody who is a perennial agent of division. He did it in APC. He got away with it. He did it in PDP. Wherever he is, he tries to cause problems. That's why when he led the team that went to PRP, before they got to us, they went to PRP. They said, Buba Galadima, we will not do anything with this man. He led the team again. They went to Accord Party, led by my friend, Honorable Nalado. They said, if it is Buba Galadima, we will not do anything. But they came to us, and we thought that he had learned his lessons, and we created this opening. Now, the MOU, to your question. The MOU was designed basically to, in fact, the major thing in that MOU was that we needed to open up the Constitution so that they can come in to be able to also serve in leadership capacities. They can also come in. It was like a blanket waiver for them to be able to come in as candidates. You know, the MOU, the Constitution of so many parties, including ours then, had a time frame within which you can join us before you are qualified to ask for a ticket to run for election or to even participate in a party primary in search for a ticket to run for election. So if we didn't enter that MOU, it wouldn't have created room for them to come in. But the underlying thing, the major thing there is that the MOU was to enable them to come in for the purpose of the 2023 election. After the 2023 election, the MOU was to be reviewed, either reviewed or cancelled outrightly. I'm a signatory to the MOU. Dr. Boniface and Ebunam that they are calling names today who gave them party free of charge without any encumbrances. that they are talking all sorts of things about today is the second signatory from the party side. Senator Honkuyi, from their side, the side of the TNM, he left not even up to 3 months after the MOU was consummated. He left, but then he had already become a candidate, so he couldn't pull out completely. But he left the administration of the party. He refused to be part of any decision making in the party because he saw clearly that the MOU was being bastardized, it was being messed up, and that he couldn't afford, as having been a senator of the Federal Republic, to put his credibility online the way they were going. Professor Angwe, a professor of law, a renowned scholar in legal studies from University of Jos, who was Executive Secretary, National Human Rights Commission, also said he couldn't watch to see his name being dragged into all of this. Today now, he angrily left the party. But then too, he was already the party's candidate in Benue, so he couldn't leave instantly. He had to wait until the elections were over, but he was no longer participating in the decision-making processes of the party. He would not even go to anybody's place. He wouldn't even come to the party secretariat. He was already, filed in as a candidate, so he couldn't pull out. But immediately after that, as I talk to you now, Professor Angwe has sent in his official resignation letter. He's in APC now. So two sides, two signatories from their side left on account that the MOU was being bastardized. There was no respect, which formed the basis for the endorsement of that MOU. Two of them left, and they are even out of the party completely as we speak now. Now, I, who was the then national secretary, also have withdrawn my signature. Dr. Boniface Alugnan, the founder of the party and the then national chairman, also withdrew his signature. So the MOU now is paper belonging to Kwankwaso and Buba Galadima. Whatever they want to do with it, they should go ahead. But the NNPP has nothing to do with that MOU anymore. The MOU was signed between Kwankwasia Group, TNM, NAGAF, and then the party, that's NNPP, on one principal side. These other ones as pressure groups coming to utilize the platform for election. So that is the MOU for you. It's a very short document. Now, at the point of administration of the MOU, that was when we started seeing deceitful acts. We started seeing these traits of people who were trying to take everything, even from its original owners. NAGAF, as the family who bettered the party, started drawing our attention to what they were doing. But the information going around across the whole federation is that they have backed this party. It was no longer that they went to Umaulu to go and beg the founder of the party to allow them to utilize the platform. The story changed that the party now belongs to Kwankwasia, that they have bought the party. And we said, this is not correct. If things like this are being peddled around, then it is incumbent on the leadership of the Kwankwasia group, by extension, Rabbi Musa Kwankwaso, to call his followers to order by telling them that, look, I am a matured man, a very experienced politician. Dr. Boniface Alugnan is a matured man, a very experienced politician. The deal is between me and him. But what people are saying is not part of the deal. It's not in the MOU. As I said, the MOU was still kept somewhere. It was when this whole thing started that we now must produce the MOU and pushed it into the open. People now started seeing their acts of deceit. They started seeing that, these people did all of this in good faith. What's really going on? And that is the problem they're having now. Even the media, you can see the way the media is reacting to it. How do you come and remove somebody who founded something and run it for that long with his resources? You just come. It's like somebody trying to give you 1 bedroom out of his 4-bedroom flat and then keeping 3. And you are now coming to say that even the 3 you are keeping, I'm going to take it. When would that happen? It can never happen. That's what we are. That is a stalemate. All right, but it's no longer a stalemate because it is over. The owners of the party, which is NAGAF, have taken back the party. And we have written all relevant letters to INEC.
All right, let's quickly touch on some specific issues, and then we'll move over to the issue of the judiciary here. In all of this, like they say, the judiciary is the last hope of the common man. So no matter what conflict anybody is having, at the end of the day, it is believed that the judiciary can settle it once and for all, and no more will come of the matter. There is some talk of some mismanaged 1 billion naira in funds as regards the campaign, and I believe you said you you wrote to Senator Kwankwaso to come and answer some questions. Was this in regards to that, and what really happened in that regard?
Amadin, I've told you before now that the party has been under the management of people who, as I speak now, are unable to tell us what was raised from March 2022 till date, what was raised, what was spent, what was it spent on, who got what, who didn't get what, up till now. So if you were in my shoes, having taken over the party, the first question you will ask is, okay, we need a report now, because this is taxpayers' money. People paid this money into the party's public account, which could be censored by relevant agencies if they need to unearth anything. For us, we're a law-abiding set of people. We have done our bit by drawing the attention of relevant agencies to help us come in and find out what befell all the monies raised into that. People sold their farm produce, people sold their vehicles, people sold all sorts of things to be able to pay money into that account to get forms to run for positions. Let us not talk about how those who paid, so many of them, 75 to 80% of them, became aggrieved because of the story of imposition. Like I said, it's not everything we put in the open. But we saw people who struggled to pay and who qualified to run and ran in the primaries and won tickets, and their names were not uploaded. Whatever happened there is a story for another day. Wherever you saw that issue of misappropriation, you also would have seen that the situation room where the names of candidates were uploaded was located in somebody's house. And that created opportunity for them to manipulate it the way they wanted. These are the kind of things they don't want to hear. But the truth as it is now has to be said to Nigerians.
So was there any aspect of this that had to do with anti-party activities?
What is anti-party activities? When you are doing anything that is not in the interest of your party, is anti-party activities.
Oh, okay.
When you impose candidates, it's not
so it's not necessary that there was some sort of romance between Senator Kwankwaso and other.
If you ask me specifically on that, that is another side of it. You said the ones that are spoken about, do they have anything to do with anti-party activities? And I told you that they are strong enough to stand as anti-party activities. If you are now taking me to whatever is the romance you are talking about, we also have cried out over that. So if you want us to discuss that and you bring it, we'll discuss it.
Well, that is where I'm heading.
But they are everywhere. You are a media man, on your TV screen, on the newspapers, on the radio. At least you until recently, when the government said we can't do anything with you, it has always been that today he's there, tomorrow this one is here, next tomorrow this one is here. So what anti-party activity is stronger than that?
But in your opinion, I just want to get your own thoughts now. Do you think this was the plan all along, or something went wrong along the way?
Do I know?
Because you've said they are deceitful and so on and so forth.
Well,
they have just wanted your party for certain reasons, and
honestly, I am not God. I don't read the minds of people. But I am speaking as a politician. That if this was possible just within a time frame of 1 year, it means it was a pre-planned thing. And the strange thing is that these things were done. The people who gave them this platform, Dr. Boniface Anebunam, who was then the chairman, the founder, and then also the BOT chairman, nobody told him anything. I'm not even talking about myself. So many times I came here to defend things that nobody told me about. But I wouldn't have told Nigerians that I was not being told what to say. The way you see some of these things is the way I was seeing it. I was only bringing my experience to bear.
But that has changed now.
Why will it not change? Will it continue? It was because, like I said, I wanted stability in the party for the election to come and go. After the election had come and gone, we now started asking questions, and that's why you saw that imbroglio that has come, that has now pushed the BOT to come out.
All right, we're starting to, we've reached where we currently are. So now, going forward, I believe there was a court ruling recently that said the suspension or the expulsion of Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso was null and void, pending another case coming October 5th. What's your take on that? And do you have any other judgments? I don't like discuss matters that are still alive in court. But
I will try to say a few things from the political perspective. The political perspective that I mean is that this is a matter that targets people who are in Abuja doing their business. I'm not a lawyer, but I have some little knowledge of what it takes to deal with situations like that. I don't even want to, like I said, it's for lawyers to argue. I don't want to talk about whether a state high court could do an order and expect it to be binding on a federal agency like INEC. I also cannot understand how a state high court will do an order and expect it to be binding on a political party that is a national political party. I also do not understand how an order done in Kano would be expected to be binding on people who are doing their businesses in Abuja. The party secretariat is in Abuja. That's one side of it. The second side of it is that if you go through the writ, you will understand what I'm saying. Maybe you need lawyers to look at it and tell you. And like I said, the matter is still alive. The lawyers are looking at it. They are approaching it the way it should be approached. And in the first place, since then, there have been several orders. The one in Katsina that reversed the decision of the NWC at the interim to dismiss the leadership of the party from the state to the ward is still alive. That order was given by Katsina High Court. And those who asked for that relief are in Katsina. They are state leaders of the party. They are not national leaders of the party in Abuja. If they were here, we would have insisted, why didn't you do your matter here? They are there. So they did their matter there, they have their order. There are so many other things, other matters that are alive in court. At the end of the day, Nigerians will be told what they are and what their results would be. But like I said, I'm not a lawyer. I don't discuss court matters on the TV. Our lawyers are there on the field working, and they know what they are doing. And at the end of the day, they have also told us the legal perspective to what was done. The political angle to it, we have also been told, you know, in terms of trying to take advantage in mileage and all of that. But we're not bothered. The whole world now knows. One critical thing that we have achieved is to have gotten the world to understand that we went into that arrangement in good faith and we didn't deserve all these things that we are facing. That the arrangement was also built on the premise that we would respect ourselves reciprocally. But all those ones are jettisoned. An old man of about 70-something years, his name is being dragged everywhere by the likes of Ladipo Johnson, by the likes of Stanley Ije. These are people who ordinarily should not even be mentioning Dr. Anibunan's name anywhere. But it's okay. It's one of the things you see in politics. But at the end of the day, I'm sure history will be kind to the old man for doing what he did in good faith.
All right, that's fair enough. You've already laid it out that you won't really speak on court issues, but then there's a very glaring one that I don't believe anyone can ignore. So even if you don't speak to the court's decision itself, you know, how does the party view it, particularly under your leadership? I'm speaking of the you know, reversal or the tribunal saying that the governor from your party, Governor Abba Yusuf, the election that brought him in was reversed, so to speak, with over 160,000 votes being cancelled and the APC candidate being declared winner. We all know that ideally this is going to go all the way to the Supreme Court. But that being said, with the margin of victory that the NNPP had, did you in any way expect to see such?
Well, I have read what people are writing. I've also tried to do my own personal analysis. You remember, I'm not a novice in party administration. I've been here for about 22 years now. So at least I can look at developments from political perspective. A party that won 2 Senate seats, won about 18 House of Rep seats, and has firm control of the state assembly, it's not a strange thing for it to win the governorship. Because the same people who cast votes on the day of the state assembly election were the same people who also cast votes for the governor. But like I said, I don't like discussing legal matters. I have seen them come here to come and say, this one happened, that one happened. I will not do that. What I can tell you is that every ordinary man on the street knows that His Excellency Abakabu Yusuf, the executive governor of Kano State, won that election squarely. Every ordinary man would also tell you that Abba is well loved by the good people of Kano. Every ordinary person on the street will also tell you that the decision of that tribunal is not going to stand the test of the next higher court. Why am I saying this? One, the judges went out of their way to vent their anger. That means they already had premeditated minds as to the direction their judgment was going to take. When you begin to vent, even if you already had done your finding and you are sure that the Kwankwaso group, like you said, this or that, you're calling them names, is this supposed to form part of the judgment? Yes, it's not in the judgment, but a judge in the team came out with all of that, I think in the course of trying to justify why they resorted to delivering that judgment through Zoom. Yes, you have done something that nobody has seen before through Zoom. It's for you to explain why you did that, not to begin to call anybody names, even if you've done your findings. It's not your job, because that will now begin to cast doubts about your mindset as it relates to the delivery of that judgment. Then come to think of the votes that were cancelled. I may not be able to quote specifically, but I know that 2022 Electoral Act, there's a section that says that whether ballots are stamped or not, the returning officer may decide to count those votes and they will be deemed to be valid. So I don't know at what point the tribunal came to that conclusion that those votes were never valid. That's one. Then two, it's also curious, and one is tempted to ask, those polling units where about 160-something thousand votes were taken away from, is it that all the APC ballots were stamped? Nobody has told us that. But like I said, it is for the Court of Appeal to determine. So Amadin, I want to leave it at that and to tell you that we are wounded, and it is a true test for the stability of our democracy. We expect the judiciary to do justice, to redeem its image by ensuring that the next court, which is the Court of Appeal, does what is right by reversing the decision of the tribunal. The notice of appeal has been served on them, and the lawyers are presently working.
All right. Just curiously, where does the governor stand in all of this? The talks about, Senator Kwankwaso's part of the party and yours and all of that. Has he waded into the matter, or is this something where? I think that's Amadi, that's an internal issue of the party. All right. It's not for me to tell you, neither is it for me to tell viewers. All right. So, but what I can tell you is that we are politicians. We can only disagree. If there's need to agree, we'll agree. If we cannot agree, we ensure that we maintain the peace and we part peacefully. Like we have told them now, you can go. If they want to stay, we'll go back to the drawing board and then agree on how we can have a relationship that is mutually beneficial and mutually respectful. All right, that's where I was going. Is there hope of reconciliation and the implications of this? Will I call it divorce, so to speak? What does it mean for the party? The party came fourth for the first time. The party had over 1 million votes for the first time. The party won a state. The party won. All these things happened. So if it continues this way, what is it looking like? Amadi, we are conscious of the gains we have made in this 2023 general election. But I can tell you that in politics, when it is time
to straighten out certain things, you have to straighten them out. Is it not better that we're doing it now, that we're still far from 2027? Do you want us to be doing it in 2025 or 2026? It will be too close to the election. We may not recover from it. So it's good that we have started early. And like I said, in politics, the best decisions ever taken are decisions that are taken when people do not seem at the beginning to be on one page. At the end of the day, they will always come to one page. And that massive disagreement will always make them or aid them to take a decision that is sound. The governor is a governor elected on the platform of NNPP. He is conscious of the role he is supposed to play in situations like this. He is doing his best, I can tell you, but not for me to tell you details of what he's doing. At the end of the day, if by the grace of God we're able to find a common ground, we move on from there. If we cannot, the divorce stands.
All right, that's fair enough. While I have a I will have to ask you on other national issues. Well, we're just a few days away from October 1st, 2023, the anniversary or 63rd anniversary of our independence. I'd just like to get your thoughts as a closing statement as to where Nigeria is now and where you hope that we can be in the future.
Amadi, you know I'm a very blunt person. But as a party leader too, I'm also wary of the comments I make on air. If I were to be speaking from the other side of me, which is the side of being an activist, I will tell you what may likely discourage you. But as a party leader, I can only raise your hope with the belief that one day divine intervention will come and the country will be better. So what I can tell Nigerians is that all hopes are not lost. It took America over 200 years to stabilize. Everything works there now. Britain, the same thing. We are just going to be, is it 53 or 63? What is it?
63.
63, yeah. So 63 is still, even as a man, I'm heading towards that now. But I'm still active. I still have energy to do things that I need to do to ensure that the future is okay. So 63 is still not a bad time that should make us lose hope. The only thing is that we must learn, cultivate these deliberate habits of holding our leaders accountable, because what is our problem in this country is lack of leadership. We have everything that others do not have. What is lacking is leadership. What is lacking is patriotism. What is lacking is, full display of real citizenship, that you are proud of your country, you are contributing your quota towards ensuring that the country makes progress and all of that. So I cannot say any other thing other than to wish Nigeria and Nigerians well at 63, and to, like I've always done, charge Nigerians to buckle up and look at that angle of ensuring that our leaders are questioned at every point in time, so that the country would be better. We have enormous resources. What we need is leaders that are accountable for how those resources are utilized. So all hopes are not lost. We'll celebrate it. I was talking with Punch yesterday, where they said, why the low-key celebration? And I said, those who are leading us are the ones making us feel that we should operate low-key. For some of us who believe that at the appropriate time, hope will come, effective leadership will come, I don't have any reason to celebrate low-key. Do you know what it takes that your leader is telling you to stay low-key? Instead of telling you, trying to ginger your spirit, tell you, look, have faith, forget about the difficulties, then somebody is telling you to stay low-key. It's killing your morale. It's making you feel that your country for now is irredeemable. It's making you feel that he has lost ideas as to what to do to make the country work. For me, I'm going to celebrate large, not just large, but largely with my friends. I will celebrate this country because I believe in this country. And I will continue to charge myself and all those around me that in the next cycle of election in 2027, we must bring leaders that will develop us, develop our nation, develop our economy, leaders that will listen to us, leaders that we can hold accountable. That's all I can charge Nigerians.
Thank you so much, Dr. Agbo-Major. It's been a pleasure having you and hearing you really speak on the issues as broadly as you can. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
All right, that's all we'll take on this segment of the program. We'll go on a break now before we bring to you our week in review. I've been speaking with Dr. Agbo-Major. He's the acting chairman of the NNPP, a portion of it, so to speak. And he has been breaking down the issues within the party and what the party hopes to gain or achieve in the following weeks, months, years. We will wait, we'll watch, and we'll bring it all to you here on KAFTAN TV on the Polity. Stay with us. We'll be right back.